Hello and welcome. My name is Josh Mirra, and welcome to The Beat. I'm joined here today by a representative of Veterans, Inc.
Yeah, hi, my name is Ray Carville. I am the Public Affairs Manager of Veterans, Inc., headquartered right here in Worcester.
I first want to just thank you for coming down here and joining us and spreading your message. It's honestly really cool to meet you guys, and we're really happy to help you guys out and spread the message of Veterans, Inc. and what you guys do for the community that you represent.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us, Josh. Anytime we get a chance to discuss issues facing veterans that are in our communities today, how we treat the veterans in our community, as I'm happy to talk about in a moment, really impacts us all. And so I think there's a great utility in getting the word out about the kind of services that Veterans, Inc. offers to veterans and their families. So once again, seriously, thanks for having me today.
Of course, and I would just like to start the show off with some nice little background. I would love
Sure.
for you to tell us about yourself and also to just tell us about the company itself.
Sure, so I served in the Army. I joined when I was a little older, actually. I was 32 at the time, so that was an interesting decision. But served in the Army for 6.5 years, and then I served overseas as a contractor for another 1.5 years. I am a disabled veteran, so when I got out of the Army, the Veterans Administration has a program that allows for the education of disabled veterans when they can't really do the job they did in the military. So I was very fortunate enough to have them pay for me to go to law school down at the University of Connecticut. When I graduated, I spent some time working in nonprofits in the area, and then found Veterans, Inc. And their mission just, it instantly grabbed me. And I wanted to work with veterans like people that I had served with and help them in their time of need. And Veterans, Inc., what an organization. I could talk for about an hour about the history of Veterans, Inc., but we've been around since 1990. And Massachusetts is our home state, but we are in all 6 New England states, as well as Montana and North Dakota. So we have an incredibly broad reach. We have a 1-800 number that's available all over the country. We take calls from all over the 50 states. So what is it that Veterans, Inc. does? Well, we're a 501c3 charitable organization. So we're a nonprofit, but I prefer to think of it as a community-based organization, in that we are in the communities actively providing services to those who are in need. So we are directly in contact with the folks who need services. That might be the veteran themselves, that might be a member of their family. And how that is funded is that we receive grants from the federal and the state government. About 90% of our money comes from federal and state grants, and the rest come from individual foundations and donations. We are a very responsible nonprofit. We limit ourselves to only 10% administrative costs, which is the lowest among anybody working in the veteran sphere. And what are we able to provide with that federal and state grant money? Well, we do a lot of different things. First and foremost, we started out as a homelessness and housing agency, because that was the big problem back in the 90s. We had all of these veterans that were unhoused, that were living on the streets, and that was our first mandate, to get these veterans who had served our country so honorably, give them a place to stay, get them out of the elements, get them out of sleeping in their cars or on a friend's couch. These people are homeless, but they are currently housed, those sleeping on a couch or in a car. And that's oftentimes what a lot of people think Veterans, Inc. Is all about, but in fact we do a lot more. Because once we get someone housing, whether that's transitional housing until they get to a permanent housing, or permanent supportive housing, whatever we get them to, we need to allow them to be able to keep that residence, right? You can't just give somebody an apartment or a home and say, good luck, good luck from here. They might not have the tools or the familiarity with how to continue that, but they also don't have 2 very important things, right? You need a job, you need a career to be able to pay for the place that you live. And in order to get up every morning and go to that job and be a responsible member of your community and a kind and caring member of your family, you need good behavioral health. So it's not just housing, it's not just employment and training. It's gotta be behavioral health as well. Now, on top of various programs that we do in there, in employment and training, we have a program that will just get you a job if you need a job. But if you're a post 9/11 veteran, right, if you served in the last 2 decades, then you're also eligible for a program called CODE, the Call of Duty Endowment, which, I play Call of Duty myself. myself. At any rate, but the call and duty endowment is even better. It'll help the post 9/11 veteran find a career, something that they can not just get a livable wage at, but that they will thrive in. And so these are some great programs that set folks up for success that we offer. I'm sorry, was that too long?
No, that was perfect. Don't worry about it. But yeah, well, I'm sure everyone is still very curious about the many future programs that Veteran Inc. provide. I know, looking through your guys' website, you guys provide a lot of services for the men and women that serve this country.
We do, and we were very fortunate to add to our behavioral health care portfolio wonderful new federal programs called the Staff Sergeant Parker Gordon Fox Suicide Prevention Program. And one of the things that we encounter, of course, in the veteran community, let me just detract for a second. It is extraordinarily difficult for many, many veterans to transition into public life. It's hard for someone who hasn't experienced that to understand it, but it's really a loss of camaraderie, it's a loss of order, it's a loss of mission, it's a loss of structure. And that can be very, very intimidating, regardless of whether you're an officer or an enlisted personnel, male, female, young, old, black, white. Regardless of who you are, it's very, very difficult. About 200,000 men and women become veterans every year. And of these 200,000 people, they're going to have emergent issues that the last generation, the generation before, might not have even dealt with. Two of the most difficult ones are substance abuse disorder with co-occurring post-traumatic stress disorder. So, as you might be familiar with, when you're a veteran, you're obviously faced with very sometimes traumatic and stressful situations, and that can leave a profound and lasting mark on you even after the service. It can affect your quality of life significantly and cause a lot of emotional, physical, and spiritual detriment to you. When you combine something like substance abuse with post-traumatic stress, it makes two incredibly difficult problems exponentially more difficult to solve. One of the wonderful things that I joined on to Veterans Inc. for was the fact that 8 years ago, they opened up a program at a facility in Shrewsbury called Independence Hall. So it's very, very close, and what it is it's the first in the nation behavioral health program that prioritizes veterans and their family members who are currently having substance abuse disorders with co-occurring mental health problems. And that doesn't have to be PTSD. Chances are if you are suffering from a substance abuse disorder, you also have some sort of clinical depression or anxiety manifesting as well. We will serve the veterans and their adult family members in an extended program up to a year of inpatient care and counseling to get them to a point where they have the skills to go back into the community, reintegrate themselves successfully, be with their families, be with their loved ones in a way that's good for all of them. And that behavioral health program is one of the things that I'd really like to talk about today. As a public affairs manager, I often have a great opportunity to intersect with some amazing people in our state administration, Governor Healy, Dr. Santiago, Dr. John Santiago, the the Secretary of the Executive Office of Veteran Services, and they've really identified that behavioral health, not just for veterans, but for anyone in our community, is extraordinarily difficult right now. Since COVID, there's been a dearth of providers. A lot of mental health care providers stopped providing services. Some changed the model of how they would be paid to give them, and there's simply too many people that need it now. Veterans were disproportionately affected by COVID. You take a population that has some real difficulties coming into the game as far as reacclimating to society, post-traumatic stress disorder, economic distress, housing distress. There's probably been a relocation or a move. You add in COVID, and you had a real ticking time bomb that we're just starting to see the real results of right now. There's a great stat that I like to bandy around. Well, I don't like to bandy it around. It's a terrible stat. But 2020, the most recent year we have numbers like this, there were 5.2 million veterans who experienced a behavioral health condition. So what does that mean? 5.2 million veterans that had either a significant mental health issue or a significant substance abuse problem. That 5.2 million is a tough number to deal with right then and there. But then you consider that in the last year, more than half of the veterans who were seeking treatment for mental health, didn't receive any. They didn't receive any, none whatsoever. And of the more than 90% of those suffering from a substance abuse disorder that required treatment, 90% didn't receive it or didn't have it available to them. What do we do about that? What do we do about that? It's a huge issue. So what we did to Veterans Inc. is we said, listen, we want to be a partner to the VA. We want to be part of what the VA is doing to solve the problem, right? Excuse me. Mm-hmm. So if you are a veteran receiving services from the VA, you can come to Independence Hall. You can request to come to Independence Hall, stay with us, and it's absolutely free of charge. We're part of the community care network of the VA. If you are a veteran in distress right now, if you are a veteran in distress with mental health and co-occurring substance use disorder, call Independence Hall. It is absolutely free to you. We also accept all other forms of insurance, but it's open. It's meant to lower barriers to access. We want the veterans to come in, and we will help them get there however we can. But that goes hand in hand with what are we really trying to accomplish? We need to get these folks. These are solid members of our community. These are folks that have a morality and an ethical code that they live by. These are good people, and we really need to invest in taking care of them. There's a quote from General George Washington. I'm not going to do it justice. But it's something to the effect of the willingness of future generations to join the military and fight for their country will be directly proportionate to how they observe us caring for those who have already fought for this country. Right? So it's not only an ethical and a moral imperative, right? It's the right thing to do, it's the just thing to do and the right thing to do. Mm-hmm. But it's if you want to really drill down on it, it's a national security issue. We need to treat our veterans and thank them for the sacrifices that they have given for the country. And they really have. So excuse me for getting off track, but behavioral health, and talking about behavioral health, and talking about substance abuse, and talking about suicidal ideation and suicide. We need to destigmatize these things. We have to make it accessible to everybody to say, I have a substance abuse problem. I'm in recovery. I'm depressed. I'm anxious. I'm thinking of hurting myself, or I'm worried about somebody who might be. We need to destigmatize this. We have politicians now in Massachusetts who will openly say, my name is Representative so-and-so, and I'm in recovery, because they realize the importance of destigmatizing these things. It's really hard for a lot of people to ask for help.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, that was actually one of my main questions I was going to ask you is how do we go about destigmatizing? Because I know for like a lot of people, just trying to seek help is a hard thing for them to do. And for a veteran, someone who, is a warrior, who's the first of the first, feet first into hell, for them to go, I need help myself, that can be super daunting for them to ask just because of who they were.
Yeah, and sometimes it's almost a unique problem with veterans, right? Although I'm sure there are other, first responders probably like this too, because their first inclination is to say, well, I'm not that bad off. There's certainly somebody out there who needs the services more than I do. And they're always willing to step back and let, the next person get the services first. And that's a hard conversation. I kind of liken it to, I know this is silly, but findmassmoney.com, right? You go on there, if you have like a bank account or something that you have left or an insurance policy waiting for, you go on and you punch in your numbers and they'll say, oh, Ray Carville, you've got $300 sitting somewhere in a bank account for you. I try and tell people it's like that. They're your benefits. You've already earned them. If you don't use them, they're just going to sit up there not being used. You're not depriving anybody of anyway. So we have to have the conversation with them that it's okay to take the benefit. It's okay to receive help. And there's a couple things that make that possible, and I think it's an important message regardless of who you deal with. We talk about inclusion and belonging, and these are really two very, very important concepts. Inclusion is an active role that we take individually to meet people where they are in the world, in a way that is respectful of their lived experience, your shared lived experience with them, cultural differences. You meet them where they are, and that's so very important. And part of that inclusion, that inclusivity, is just a kindness. You know, we need to practice kindness and being more receptive and open to the signals that we're getting from people around us, from those that are in distress or that are having a hard time, because that fosters belonging. Belonging is the feeling that we feel inside that we're respected and that we should be here and that our opinions are appreciated and that we're validated. And this can only happen with a cycle of compassion and kindness that just feeds upon itself. So, you know, it's going out there with the understanding that people have different needs, they have different problems. No one is the same. Everyone is unique in their life story and their own problems. And that's why you have to meet them where they are. Now, is somebody going to be necessarily, you know, open up and say, you know, the reason I'm coming down here is because I have a terrible, terrible addiction to opiates? No, I mean, you might have to get them to open up, and there are ways that you can do that. I'm in recovery for alcohol abuse. We have many people in our organization that are, well, I would say many or assume, but we have some that are, you know, in recovery for that. We have people in our organization that have had, you know, that have suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder as a result of their service. We can speak to folks in a way that says, listen, we know your language, right? We know all the acronyms in the Army, or the Navy or the Marines, there's a million of them. Yeah. But more so than that, right? We did our basic training at the same places you folks did basic training at. You know, we deployed to the same places you deployed to. But you know, we have other shared lived experiences. We know what it's like to transition out of the military and back into the civilian world. We know what it's like to face difficulties of substance use disorder and mental health disorder. So it's by talking about and feeling willing and being willing to share your own experiences that you can allow others to open up to you. It's just constantly reinforcing that destigmatization, and you know, it's just so very important. So we can break this endless cycle of mental health disorders and, unfortunately, suicide prevalent in the veteran community. And actually, you know, I'd like to mention that if I could. I got off on the Staff Sergeant Parker Gordon Fox Suicide Prevention Grant Program. I want to mention that. It's an important grant program the federal government identified. Listen, you know, veterans in our community are considering harming themselves, actually harming themselves, or taking their own lives. And, you know, we need to have an open and earnest discussion about how this happens and why this happens and how it can be prevented. And it's tough to talk about, you know. I mean, my first instinct, my internal instinct when I hear the word suicide is to recoil. It's an uncomfortable subject. It's hard to talk about. But it's important that we have this conversation I can't tell you how many unfortunate situations I've run into, you know, in my own personal life with members that I serve with who have taken their own lives, or members that family members that I interact with in the community. So we have a specialized team that's enabled by this Staff Sergeant Parker Gordon Fox Suicide Prevention Program that actively goes out into the community and says, you know, what are the harm reduction methods? How can we educate not only our veterans, but our veterans' family members into emotional resilience, into mental flexibility, into the ability to take care of themselves and be safe and prosper in life. So I just wanted to mention that. Thank you for giving me the moment to mention that program.
Yeah. So going on about that, I mean, we've been talking about how we need more people to open up and be able to talk about these subjects. For Veterans Inc., though, I have to ask, like, for anyone who is watching this and maybe were swayed, how would they go about to, like, apply for these services?
Sure. So we have a wonderful portal that is our website, www.veteransinc.org. That's veterans with an S, Inc., I-N-C, like incorporated. www.veteransinc.org. Now, from that page, you can see any number of things. You can see our whole suite of programs and services. And when I say that there's stuff that I just don't have time to talk about, there really are. I mean, we will help with a lot of things. We also have a food pantry and clothing as well. So if you're looking for food pantry resources, food insecurity is a really difficult thing right now. Go to the website, and it'll also tell ways to help. If you want to become involved, if you have a skill set that you want to bring to bear, if you have some free time to volunteer, if you just want to find out what our upcoming events are, because we have some great ones. We've got a charity golf tournament coming up, and we have our stand-down event this summer, which is where we gather over 50 employers and 50 service providers. We close down Grove Street, and all the veterans come out, and they get everything taken care of at once. They get their registry of motor vehicles, they get their eye exam, they drop off some applications, maybe they get hired on the spot. It's a great day. So go to www.veteransinc.org and find out more about it there.
Could you actually tell us some more about that event that's coming up?
Sure, yeah. So the stand down. So stand down is a tradition that goes back to in the military. If you needed to give your unit a safety briefing, or maybe it was just an opportunity to come off the front line if they were in combat, they would stand down. So they would go to the rear and they would get some instruction. So this is an opportunity for veterans in the community to come together in a way to stand down from all the other concerns and worries and come to one location and find that job that they need to get some legal guidance, legal services guidance. Like I said, to get to sign up for veterans benefits, to get your VA health care. I mean, we have just about everybody there. And you know what? We also give away a ton of brand new free clothing. It's great. People love, we get these fantastic boots that are brand new and all kinds of things. You know, we have a kids corner. It's an opportunity for folks to come down and be with veterans and feel supported by veterans and to be able to share some of their stories. You know, we see, it's so great to see the older veteran from, Vietnam or Korea who's having a conversation with the younger veteran from Iraq and Afghanistan, and having that legacy of commitment to each other and camaraderie. So that's really what it is. It's one of my favorite events that we do. I'll also put a plug in for Holiday Harvest. This past year in Holiday Harvest, we gave away, this was incredible, we gave away over 700 turkeys to veterans and their families, but not just turkeys. We had everything. We had all the vegetables, like fresh vegetables, cranberry sauce stuffing, and we set up our entire drill hall down at Veterans Inc. in Worcester as a farmer's market. And our incredible it was amazing. People could go around and shop like they were at a farmer's market. I mean, these are the kind of things we want to make veterans feel like they can come to us and rely on, that they'll always have a home at Veterans Inc., that we'll always do our best to take care of them. And if we can't solve the problem, we're going to find the person that can, and we're gonna introduce you to them. I mean, we're not just gonna give you a phone number and send you off into the night. Good luck. I mean, we're gonna walk you through every step we can to get you to the services that you and your family need as a veteran. And that's our mission. That's our goal.
That is absolutely incredible. Going back, I know you talked about earlier of how people like us can apply and help you guys out, but could you go back and talk more in depth about like what us people can do in order to help?
Absolutely. We are always looking for volunteers for our events. We are always looking for volunteers to come down and help out at Grove Street. Whether that's helping with the food pantry, which we run twice a week. I think 7 times a month? Several times a month. Check it out on the website, veteransinc.org. But, there's always opportunities to volunteer. You can go on there and reach out to one of our volunteer coordinators. We accept donations as well. If you've got lightly used clothing, if you want to donate food to our organization, you can bring it right down to Grove Street for our food pantry. Whatever you'd like to do, whatever you'd like to be a part of, contact Veterans Inc. If you have a skill set, we're always looking for people that are interested. One of our big things is we love in our treatment model to include things like arts and music and movement. If you're an artist or you're a musician or you have a creative skill that you'd like to share, we'd love to talk to you about that. Down at Independence Hall in Shrewsbury, as I mentioned, our behavioral health center, that kind of creativity and art is really pushed forward. It has a very healing and nurturing and nutritive effect on the soul. If you're somebody that's involved in television production and design, there's opportunities to come down and film some of our amazing events. Whatever you'd like to do, there's a way that you can be involved with Veterans Inc. If you've got a project and you're a student at WSU or anywhere else in Massachusetts for that matter, and you want to talk to some veterans, we've got some subject matter experts that be happy to talk about everything from policy to their experience. We're here to share the experience of what it's like to be a veteran. We're here to take care of veterans, educate the public on why it's so important to help our veterans and how crucial they are to the fabric of our community. So any chance that we can get to find a way to integrate somebody in the community into what we do, the better. If you're another community-based organization out there and you happen to provide services to the community and you think there's an intersection with Veterans Inc., we'd love to talk to you as well. One of the most important things about being a community-based organization is that you need to be integrated to the other community-based organizations. You need to provide an umbrella of care over the whole community that you're serving. For us, that's 6 New England states, Montana, and North Dakota, but it's here right here in Worcester, Massachusetts, here today. We want to know what's going on the ground, what the needs are. If you're aware of a need that the veterans are facing, or a difficulty in getting them, or you have questions, you're not sure where to turn for your benefits, you don't know who to talk to, or maybe it just seems like you're a veteran and you've got 11 different things you've got to do and you don't know where to start, well, Veterans Inc. is a great place to start because we are the Swiss Army knife of services.
All right. First of all, I want to thank you once more for coming down here and
Josh, thank
spreading
you
the message.
so much.
It's been an absolute pleasure to have you guys all come down here to
So
talk
wonderful.
about Veterans Inc. And I would also like to reinstate again, of course, as Ray said multiple times, if you can provide any service, help in any way, shape, or form, or you just want to learn more, check them out on their website.
www.veteransinc.org.
My name has been Joshua Mirra. This is The Beat, and we'll see you all next time.